Let's talk about misdirection and red herrings in your games. Hello there, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Mostly recovered, feeling a fair bit better, not 100%, but you know what? We are here, we're getting the ball rolling again, and we're going to keep it going as long as we can today by talking about red herrings and misdirecting your players in your games, whether it's Pathfinder, D&D, or some other game like Rollmaster or Cyberpunk Red, or any number of other games. There's plenty of ways to go about this. Now, how exactly you do it is going to vary a little bit because, well, it's all well and good and easy to say, oh, just mislead your players, misdirect them, and still have it be something that's fun and engaging and not feel like a total asshole that just really messes with them. No, it's got to be something that does make sense, but is also still something effective that can keep them off the right track. And we're going to talk about how we go about doing that. But first, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. But now, let's actually talk about how we go about doing this. And it is going to vary a little bit from story to story, and it's all well and good to say, here, do X and Y will happen. But distilling it down to the most basic process can be a little bit tricky, but we're going to do our best here today. So, this kind of twist is usually best in campaigns that feature some level of deceit, trickery. You know, your cloak and dagger style campaigns really do this. Dungeon crawls can be good for this as well too, but really campaigns that have more of an emphasis on intrigue really work well for this, quite naturally. It's the whole point, really. So getting good at this here will help bleed out into other campaigns and stories as well. So what I like to do is feed into the player's expectations. So let's say we have a lawful evil NPC. Lawful evil always has shady things on going under the side. It very much tends to be rules for thee, not for me kind of a thing. They depend on the laws, they use the laws, or their word may be their bond, but they're also going to try to find the loopholes. They're going to do the shady things off to the side, quietly, leaving as little evidence as possible because, well, you got to try them before the law. There's no evidence of a crime, there's no crime. That kind of a thing. That's obviously an evil character, so obviously the players are going to go after them for whatever awful, heinous things they might be investigating, trying to stop. That's what you're going to give the players. And because that character obviously has shady things going off to the side, the players are going to feel like they're doing the right thing, that they're on the right track. And that's what sets up the twist, is that they feel like they are doing the right thing. They are undoing all this evil. They're doing good in the world. And that's when you can introduce the switch. That's when you can reveal at some point, at some climactic moment, whatever that looks like for your campaign, that's when you make the reveal, you make the switch. What that looks like is going to depend very much on the kind of campaign you're doing. What I envision is the players confronting this NPC, confronting them. They've taken down the guards, they've unraveled several parts of this NPC's operation, they've done catastrophic damage. They are reigning supreme and they're throwing all the evidence in front of this character. They've got him dead to rights. They're going down in every single way possible. And the villain goes, wait, okay, yeah, I've done X, Y, and Z, but A, B, and C, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. I'm not trying to blow all of this up. I need all of this. This is how I make my money. This is my power structure. I need all of this to remain in place. I haven't been doing all of this. And that makes sense, because a lawful evil character, they do want those structures in place. They typically tend to depend on that, to thrive on that to one degree or another. Sure, you could argue a crime syndicate boss, they don't necessarily worry about the law as much. They wouldn't really be super worried about that. But those laws do provide the means of making money because, say, they're dealing in some sort of illicit goods. the laws that are in place allow them to increase their prices because, well, it's restricting the flow of goods that are being demanded by members of the public. So, because there's such a limited supply, there's a greater demand. The greater the demand, the greater the price that can be commanded. So, those kinds of characters typically want these structures in place for their own benefit, their own ends. So, so them contesting that they're not the ones that have done the awful things that the players are accusing them of, that will make a certain amount of sense. And you can even add to it by saying they don't know who exactly is doing this, but they've known about it and they've been trying to fight it. Not only have they been trying to fight it, they were actually trying to unravel things on their end, and now the players have just disrupted all of that and given whoever this shadowy figure is the means to run free, to run rampant. Whatever that other villain might be doesn't quite matter so much. Maybe it's another lawful evil character who is looking to usurp the existing power structure and put their own into place. Maybe it's a chaotic evil character looking to upend everything. Maybe it's a neutral character who is so dead set on balance on some macro scale that they are not really worried about the upset it causes for lots of smaller lives. They're just worried about this grander scheme and design that's just beyond everybody else. It could even be a lawful good character who is looking to just enact a purge. As you could make an argument that, say, the League of Shadows from the Batman movie under Ra's al Ghul, that they are pursuing a sense of trying to right the world again. I mean, they are trying to right the world. They're doing unsavory, horrible, awful things, but they're doing it with a specific goal of trying to put the world back on a better path. It could be a lawful good character like that who has become so dead set on their morals, their ideals, they haven't really noticed that they've started to slip and are actually going from being lawful good to lawful evil. They're doing bad things to try to reinstate good. It gets a little bit messy there, but I'm sure that you get what I'm saying here at this point. Whoever the actual big bad, whoever the actual antagonist is for your campaign, this is one way to do that kind of a switch by feeding your player into your players' expectations, and not only feeding into them, but giving them more and more evidence that they're on the right path. And you can have these things overlap just a little bit. I mean, again, think about the League of Shadows from the Christian Bale Batman movies, the Nolan Batman movies, where the League of Shadows is working with mobsters, they're working with Scarecrow, they're producing this horrible fear toxin and dumping it into the water supply. Like, they're giving money to an evil organization, but they're doing it as a means to an end for their eventual goals of destroying Gotham, setting the world on a more moral path, yada 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 yada. You can see how the goals on the ends justifying the means could start worming their way into the mind of somebody who is otherwise lawful good and starting to slip towards being more lawful neutral to lawful evil, and on like that. So that's just one example there. And so there's other ways that you can do this, but this is one of the most prominent in my mind. It's you feed the players expectations, you lean into them, you play into them, all the while building up an example of why the players end up being wrong. And that's what keeps it from feeling like a total ass pull on your part, is giving the players reasons why they don't want why the NPC doesn't want these structures just destroyed. They depend on them. It's the status quo. They depend on that. Lawful evil really does like status quo and traditions. It meshes really nicely for them. So let's think of another example here. Uh, Say it's a situation where it's a city where multiple different planar factions are at play. You know, you have lawful evil, lawful good, lawful neutral. You could even have chaotic good present because, well, chaotic good may not trust the lawful good and lawful neutral factions to really actually meaningfully, in their eyes, keep the lawful evil faction in check. So they show up, but they toe the line not because they're of some sense of ideological impurity, but because, well, taking a 3-on-1 fight, even if you're powerful, is just not good planning, not good strategy. And the lawful evil faction is overseeing some kind of operation. Some kind of operation, but there's an accorded truce, an accorded neutral zone that's meant to benefit everybody, and the lawful evil faction, for whatever reason, was trusted to be the one that would actually keep everything unfairly fair for whatever reason. Say it's a rare resource that everybody would otherwise be fighting over and causing a greater degree of chaos and instability than otherwise would be had unless an agreement was struck. So with the agreement struck, you have a bit of a Cold War situation where nobody can out and out fight and confront each other in an all-out drag-out brawl, because committing those kind of resources to that kind of fight to obtain whatever this other ultra-rare resource is means, one, potentially losing access to that resource and still expending all that military power, all that arcane and magic might. That's so much that could be dragged away from other fronts where those resources are needed. So it's picking and choosing a battle, and this is a battle that doesn't need to happen, because while this is a rare resource, everybody's getting a little bit of a slice of it, or at least everybody has a shot at getting a piece of that, a little bit of that power, for whatever the ends may be. Now, the lawful evil factions in place, why would they work with them? Why would they maintain this? Why wouldn't they just outright steal? This is a position where you could argue that the lawful evil faction is probably going to be more on the up and up. So why would they want to do that? Why would they want to administer over all of this and not just outright screw everybody else over? Information gathering. They can now gather information on several other opposition forces: chaotic good, lawful neutral, and lawful good. They can now gather information on them, and also they get the same benefit that everybody else is getting. They're not having to commit their own resources to this fight to gather the wonderflonium, whatever it is. They're not having to fight over the MacGuffin now, and they're getting their own piece of this little bit of it as well. Something is better than nothing, and now they have more forces to commit to the blood war, fighting the Tanari, the demons of the abyss and everything. So on and on and on. So they have reason to keep this power structure in place. All of these factions do, but they also all have a reason to upset things too. It's just whoever's going to be the most discontented with things the way they are. So you introduce a really interesting situation there where it's obvious, but is it really that obvious, or does it just look that way because the players want to view it that way? Is there anything else that could be at play there? There's so many different ways you can go about it. It really just depends on the situation at hand. But I hope this has given you some thoughts, some ideas, a little bit of inspiration. I could talk in circles around this forever. Maybe I'll just have to work something up and share it on the community tab. But let me know your thoughts down below if you would like me to do that, because I am working on some things on my own ideas, writing and everything, wanting to publish my own adventure at some point. So let me know your thoughts down below. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Hit the like or dislike buttons and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you want me to share some of the stuff that I've been working on that would probably feed into this idea of introducing red herrings and cloak and dagger style campaigns, being able to misdirect your players, let me know your thoughts down below. And remember, if you've made it this far, you must have enjoyed something. So why not go down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.